Peter Parker and Tony Stark put aside their differences as Regent collects superheroes and supervillains like their Funko Pop figures. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. Today what I want to do is I want to talk about Amazing Spider-Man issue 14. So Amazing Spider-Man issue 14 is a continuation of a story that Dan Slott set up in Amazing Spider-Man 13, where we see Peter Parker and Tony Stark, both as their superhero alter egos, Spider-Man and Iron Man, kind of interacting and working towards mentoring the young Miles Morales, the other Spider-Man. So Tony Stark has him part of the New Avengers, and ultimately Peter Parker has always been a role model for Miles, so he's kind of torn in these conflicts. And inadvertently, Tony Stark insults everything about Peter Parker, really, which leads to this kind of conflict. And in that conflict, Miles Morales becomes a casualty. Not necessarily a literal casualty, but he gets abducted and taken into the control of Regent. And this is a great departure from the story that's been going on so far in Amazing Spider-Man. What we do now is we use Parker Industries and the whole kind of tech millionaire, billionaire kind of role that Peter Parker has been thrust into, and we really use it as a backdrop. Instead of being the front and center, day-to-day operations, focusing on boardroom and project development and stuff like that, we're going to use it as a resource. It's going to be the tools that Peter Parker has at hand in order to combat these mightier villains. If he's really going to be Spider-Man International, he's going to have to use those things, but we don't need to necessarily focus on where those things come from. We don't need to see those day-to-day operations, which I really like that. I don't know if it's the influence of Christos Gage or Dan Slott on this, but I'm very interested to see where that is, and I'd be much happier with the overall book simply if we can focus on Peter Parker and his core values, which are really the empowering parts of the character, and focus a little bit less on the situation that's kind of going on around him, unless it's something that impacts him and his character. If it's one of those decisions, if it's one of those situations or an event that really defines Peter Parker, then I'm absolutely all for it. Bring that stuff back into the fray. But it's just not interesting in a Spider-Man book. I don't read Spider-Man to see how he develops webware. It's just not part of the character. As always, the art is fantastic, the cover is amazing, and the way that this leads into it, ultimately the last page reveal, I am Regent, is awesome. It's going to be interesting to see how issue 15, and if you've seen the cover for issue 15, spoiler, it's right there. If you've seen the cover for issue 15, you know that a certain lady who's been on both sides of this fence is going to be joining the fray, and I can't wait to see where that goes. Overall, issue 13 and issue 14 have become my favorites out of the Amazing Spider-Man run so far, and I can't wait to see how that continues to develop. I feel like Dan Slott's really kind of hitting his stride with his story arc, and it's nice to see Regent make it out of the Secret Wars universe. So those are my thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man issue 14, but I want to know what you have to say, so hit me up in the comments down below, and we're going to start up that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to get more news and reviews regarding comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.